Hello, this is Michelle from the Skills Centre. Welcome to this screencast on exam and revision strategy. In this screencast, I'm going to talk to you about your memory and how you can use it to help you sit exams and revise effectively, revision strategies, revision planning, common pitfalls, and how you can maximise your success overall in exams. So first of all, memory. When we think about our memory, we need to think about how we learn facts and information in order that we can retrieve it effectively. So when you first learn it, it's there in your brain ready for retrieval, but as time passes, you will have more and more problems retrieving that information. So when we're revising, this means that we need to effectively keep re-revising the same information. Revision strategies. What can you do before you get to the exam? If you're using active revision strategies, you can identify key concepts from your reading and remember that you need to read widely. It isn't enough in exams just to use information that you've found in textbooks and in your lecture slides. Ideally, you need to read articles as well. Articles are where you'll find the latest information, the latest research. When you're also testing yourselves, you can restate things in a different way. This should show that you really understand things deeply. When you're revising, revision is about condensing your ideas, but it's also about looking for gaps in your understanding and about deepening your understanding of concepts. If you think about your assessment criteria when you submit assignments, often you gain more marks for thinking critically, and it's the same in exams. So we're looking for a deep and complex understanding of issues. Before you get into the exam, you can also make connections between ideas, look for similarities, differences, contradictions, dilemmas. Think about all the debates that are happening in your subject area. What are people still not sure about? Are there contrasting ideas? Can you articulate a timeline, a trend of ideas? All of this is useful to think about before you get into the exam. You can also test your understanding and think about your learning style. Can you explain your knowledge out loud? Do you like to record yourself? You could make a podcast about a particular topic. You could write notes. You could write exam questions and then do a timed answer and then check your facts. So there are lots of ways that you can use, and it's just about you being aware of your own learning style. So revision is about condensing your notes, but also look for gaps in your knowledge. You need to read around topics so that you have a full and complex understanding of ideas and issues, themes, concepts, theorists, research. And if you condense your notes, this means that you will be able to retrieve facts more effectively. But we're looking for a rich understanding, and condensing isn't about just a superficial understanding. You might want to use mind maps if that's your preference. You put the main topic in the middle and have lines coming off, so these could be sub-themes and sub-points. That's a very good way to revise. It's also a good technique to use in an exam if you want to quickly plan an answer. So here's a mind map of youth and employment, and you can see that you've got lots of sub-themes there with the bold text. And if you do use a mind map, that can often help you structure your question, your answer, when you come to write. Have a look on Apps Anywhere. Here you can find MindView and inspiration software, which you can download, and you can use this for mind mapping. This is useful in assignments, but it's also useful if you want to plan ahead and undertake some revision and some mapping of themes. What about mnemonics? These are just techniques for jogging your memory. So if you want to know how to spell rhythm, a word that we often have problems with, you can remember rhythm has your two hips moving. So the first letter of each of those words in the sentence helps you spell it out. You might use acronyms to help you think about factors to explore in an exam question. So if you're studying management, select DEP's very useful because it makes you think about all these factors. And you can see there that you've got 2 E's, economic and ecological. 3 E's actually, environmental as well. So when you're revising, you can think about the 3 E's and you could find ways to jog your memory on those as well. For example, you've got economic, ecological, you've got 2 that start with eco, and then environmental. N comes after C in the alphabet. So all these things are useful. Or you might be a visual learner. I sometimes find it useful to draw a house, and I think about the windows, the door, and I might have a separate concept for all of those. And that can also help you place it. So if you also try and remember the placing of the words, that helps your recall, because when you're trying to recall the information, you're using not only your verbal recall, but your visual recall. Test yourself. Can you recall everything? If you can't, draw the picture again and test again. And keep doing that until it comes very naturally and you've captured those concepts and you can recall them easily. Planning your revision. Invest in a wall planner and log your exams and mark dates and venues if known. Obviously, if you're doing it online, you just need to know about the process. Work back from key dates to create a timeline. So this could look like a Gantt chart with your tasks and your different weeks down, taking you to the exam time. So first of all, you're going to be organising notes, condensing them, and then you might do revision sessions online with your friends, make cue cards, questions and answers, reread your notes, look for practice papers. You can do that through the Library Gateway, and then you'll be practicing your questions, and then you might be giving yourself 5-minute tests to see how much information you have. So hopefully you've been preparing for your exams. So we're now in May, and so here are some of the things you should have been doing to bring us up to this time. You can see that a few months ago perhaps you should have started identifying gaps in your knowledge. It's not too late. If you think that your knowledge of a particular topic is very thin, there's still time to do some reading. Look for those journals, look for textbooks. Read beyond the key textbooks that you've been advised to look at. Make notes on your key theories and concepts. It's also good to try and learn some key references or quotations. That would differentiate a good student from an average student. Try past papers. Refine and develop your notes and create your mind maps. And of course, if you have an exam coming up, it's now the time to check about the online instructions, if it's online, which it probably will be at the moment. If it was an exam where you're attending, remember to take your shoe card, check all the information online about what you have to do. And so a week before the exam, this is when you start to memorise and self-test on a weekly basis, probably on a daily basis. So you're revising for key areas in great detail at this point. You might have a wall planner, that gives you a weekly revision. Remember to rotate your different topics or different subject areas so that you're covering things gradually and you're checking that you have information, checking that retrieval. Test yourself, use your time well. Predict how long you can concentrate and see how much you can get done. Set your timer and go. Reflect about how efficient you were, and then tweak the plan for the next burst of concentration. Perhaps you start with 5 minutes. Maybe you can build to 10 minutes. So you're trying to build your self-efficacy by doing this, and that helps you understand that you can actually be resilient and build higher goals for yourself. Success in exams. Plan your answers and then focus carefully on one question. Consider what it's asking. Look for the verbs. What is it asking you to do? The doing words. Evaluate, analyse, describe, and look at the descriptive words in terms of what content they're asking you to bring forward in your answer. You could quickly brainstorm potential answers and identify what's relevant. Roughly plan a structure, use a mind map or an outline of paragraphs. Think about citations you want to use. Write your quotes down quickly, do a quick dump so that you have them there ready, and then you're free to write. Always check that your response will answer the question. Keep that question in mind. Keep checking back to the question to make sure you're answering it and not going off at a tangent. If you run out of time, write a few key notes at the end to show what you know. Remember to put references in and key theorists. If you've got an argument you haven't had time to articulate, write that down too. How do you gain higher marks? In an exam, you'll gain higher marks if you demonstrate wider reading. Also, if you've done some thinking before the exam to identify arguments. You might introduce critique. What are the disadvantages, advantages, risks? What are the issues? What are the debates? What are the contested ideas and what are the problems? Can you actually forecast any problems? So if you're studying a subject where you're thinking about implementation, what are the issues that people would need to consider? If you identify a problem, can you propose a solution? And is that evidenced in some way from reading? Include citations and quotes, paraphrase your ideas and memorize your references before you get into the exam so that they're there. You probably don't need to use as many as you would with written work, but it would be useful for every theme or topic to have a few memorized references. Obviously choose those very carefully. They need to be key ideas, and you can use quotations in different ways. You can use them to articulate agreement. You could use a quotation to articulate disagreement and bring in another idea. There are lots of creative ways that you can use references in your work. What types of references? Well, key definitions, concepts, and references that would be useful if you are debating, if you're bringing in critical argument or complexity. How do you commit these to memory? Use note cards or index cards. Condense your ideas down into manageable batches and hopefully set revision goals. They could be weekly and daily. During 2020, we are undertaking some open book exams, and this could be something that continues in the future. They are delivered electronically via Blackboard as open book. This is a time-limited assessment. This means that the exam paper will typically be available for 24 hours via Blackboard. So you have 24 hours to complete the assessment. You'll be required to submit your answers using a link by the scheduled end of the examination. If you're preparing for these types of exams, you won't have time to look up everything, so you need to plan and be prepared. Don't go into that exam not having done revision, because you'll waste a lot of time looking for information. How do you prepare? Look at your lecture slides, identify topics, key concepts and theories, as we've already explained. Organise the materials so that they're easily accessible on the day. Limit your notes to essential references and key information. Be familiar with that information and practice a timed response to exam type questions. Predict some questions, write them out and do some answers and see how quickly you can do that and accurately. When it comes to the day itself, find a comfortable place in your home where you can sit and do the exam. Have water or drinks ready. Have everything you need available. Do you need a paper and pen to write notes? Ensure your computer is charged, plugged in, and frequently save your work. Perhaps have your mobile phone ready in case you need to phone anyone. Check that your Wi-Fi broadband is working and follow the guidelines carefully. Spend 10 minutes making a plan. Keep an eye on your time. You could use your phone timer and allow time to go over your answer before submitting it. So check for typographical errors, for poor expression, misspellings, and have a look before you get into the exam what you need to do, who you need to contact if you have any technical issues. That will also be available on Blackboard, and there should be links there about how you can get help. If you have an online viva, this is your opportunity to participate in an academic discussion. So here you're demonstrating your knowledge that you've gained through your research and thesis. So I guess the type of role that you're taking is a more expert student. So it's your chance to show where your research is positioned in relation to all the other research that's happened in this subject field. So I would say it's a little bit like having a literature review in your head to be able to articulate where your research sits. How does it contrast? How does it compare with other research? Have you identified any new findings, any new themes? Does it suggest a certain way of behaviour or something that people should be implementing in a field of work? So it's an opportunity for you to explore and clarify any points of ambiguity in your thesis. You're trying to demonstrate to the examiner that it's all your own work. So it's quite important to have prepared and to be familiar with the work and the data. This could take place by phone or video conferencing. So you need to prepare for it and have the link ready and be aware of how you access the session. Refamiliarise yourself with the research and the thesis. Prepare and anticipate practice questions and responses. Make notes on anticipated themes or theorists. You probably have a good idea of what your tutor might want to discuss with you. If you want help to prepare for this, you can book a one-to-one skills tutorial with an academic skills advisor. These are bookable through UniHub, so we are there to support you if you have an online viva to prepare for. Skills for Study Campus has some useful information on exam skills. This is something that you can look up through the Library Gateway website. Here are some references. The Open University has some useful information on skills for study and examinations. We have a number of textbooks in the library. Many of those are available as online text which you can read on your computer. We are still working in the Skills Centre. We're working online at the moment. You can access all our sessions through UniHub. We have a number of workshops and webinars. We have writing forums and one-to-one tutorials and a number of online resources. So we are here to support you through the exam time. I wish you well in your exams. Take care and keep on studying.